From a macro perspective, we know that 50% of workers will need upskilling in the next 5 years. Only 18% of companies have made significant progress in establishing upskilling programs. Tax leaders cited lack of upskilling as one of the top barriers to really achieving the full value of cloud. There's varying levels of digital experience and cloud fluency across organizations. Automation and upskilling, really requires a top-down and bottoms-up approach. And when we think about how you get transformation to stick and drive lasting impact, you really need to strike the right balance between the enterprise-led initiatives like cloud and some of the people-led problem solving. Leading organizations we see tend to focus on both and excel at both. And really sort of without this, you may be leaving some benefits on the table. There's different types of upskilling approaches and programs out there. Learning pathways that are customized for employee needs is always a great place to start. You think about leveraging some of the on-demand learning, which is focused on cloud and set to boost cloud skills, and really tying that into individualized learning paths. Launch programs for digital adoption. So another great way to accelerate the learning curve with some hands-on training, tackling small automation opportunities and really getting started sooner rather than later. Focusing on putting tools in the hands of end users, which can be done through creating a foundation of learning through digital academies, dedicated training time focused on self-service automation, office hours, and lunch and learns. Really, ultimately the goal is to meet employees where they're at, focus on new sets of business skills, including cloud, take small bites, incentivize contributions, and really foster that innovation mindset.
The notion of the latest technology, cloud being one of them, and ERPs that are taking on new versions of themselves is the same way. I think that the technology today, it is like a new capability in some respects. So I come back to the muscle thing, right? And so whenever you introduce a new capability to an organization, it does need to be nurtured, right? So part of nurturing it is upskilling people, not only to understand the technology, but with other skill sets that they might need. So for example, if because of new technology, you get more data thrown at you, and you have to absorb it and do things with it, make different decisions. That's an analytic muscle. That's different, right? And that's not a number crunching muscle. And so there's upskilling. I think the notion of it is not just digital fluency of how do I automate at a micro level or anything else, but there's other skill sets, namely, I think, in the analytic capabilities that should go hand in hand with it. The other thing I would say, and this is where upskilling citizen level kind of across the board for some of these nuances matters, is we've conducted other research as a firm, and we've particularly done it on the heels of the pandemic. We actually did a separate global survey. And there is a degree of optimism that is returning to organizations about their ability to grow. So I think there's this notion of, okay, I'm going to come out the other end of this and I'm going to thrive. And that optimism is fantastic, by the way. What we've heard in recent studies we've done is that if any company that's kind of optimistic about its ability to grow revenue now is also saying in the same breath, I'm not expecting to increase my headcount by that same amount. And that's an important point. And the back office tends to take the brunt of some of that, and that's just the reality. So I do think it's an important, broader economic impact that I do think we're in this moment in time in business where optimism is returning, which is great, and growth is creeping back in. And the sentiment of growth is, but it doesn't mean everything grows, right? So that means the muscles to support a growing margin. And that's where the notion, I think, of resiliency comes in as an organization. And that's been a shock to the system, right, that the pandemic has brought. So, Dom, when I think about some of these things, it's kind of a necessity, I think, just given broader macro conditions and the way organizations will need to operate. And that's just the reality.